I am Walt Hickey from 538. Joining me today is Mike Rothman from ABC News. How's it going,
Who else
co-pilot?
would it be, buddy?
And then, Skyping into us from the nicest hotel room in America, we have Evan Narcisse. He's the writer behind The Rise of the Black Panther from Marvel, and also at, Kotaku as well?
Yeah, so I started at Kotaku within the Gawker Media family, and now I'm at IO9.
And now you're writing Rise of the Black Panther for Marvel. How's the book running?
It's doing well. You know, it's been a largely positive response for the first two issues, and I'm really excited that people are getting to read this comic, my first one ever, at the time when the whole entire world is going crazy for Black Panther.
That's right. So Black Panther hits cinemas later today. We should disclose at this point that Disney owns both ABC News and Black Panther through Marvel.
Oh, you got that out of the way really
early. We got that out of the way way early.
It's always fun to plug in later on.
Early. But either way, so again, today's a really big day. Again, this is a character that's been around since the early 60s, finally getting his opportunity in the sun. Michael, could you walk through, again, who the character Black Panther is? Just give us the setup for the folks who are just coming in for the movies.
Yeah, so we going cinema, we're going books.
Let's go cinema for now, and then we'll hit the
So we met
books.
T'Challa, who is the son of T'Chaka,
Yeah.
who was the Black Panther before him. It's a lineage thing. It's the King of Wakanda. Takes the... Is that a spoiler?
No.
No. I think he said that, yeah. Takes the heart-shaped herb. I'm just always so careful.
Of course.
Gets heightened abilities, wears a special suit that's lined with vibranium, which the country of Wakanda is very rich in, which makes it one of the most technologically advanced, a lot of big words here, technologically advanced and wealthiest countries on the planet, but people don't know about that.
Yeah.
So we met T'Challa in Captain America Civil War 2 years ago. We saw some of his abilities in fights with a brainwashed Bucky Barnes. Captain America, who was trying to save his brainwashed buddy Bucky Barnes.
Mm-hmm. He fought a helicopter and somehow won.
I still don't understand that, but we can talk about that.
Hitter.
He was curling a helicopter. And then at the end, took down a Baron Nemo.
So, new to a lot of folks, Evan, can you tell us a little bit about this character, T'Challa, and where his place in the Marvel Universe is?
Yeah, in the comics, he first appeared in 1966 in Fantastic Four number 52. He's, like one of the top tier characters of Marvel right now. He's the King of Wakanda, as in the movies. He's one of the best strategists in the Marvel Universe. He's constantly portrayed as somebody who is 3 steps ahead of his enemies and 5 steps ahead of his friends.
I like that.
He's somebody who's got a lot riding on his shoulders. He's got an entire history of Wakanda being unconquered that he has to preserve. And he's doing it in a time when all kinds of crazy stuff happen in the Marvel Universe. So he's facing a level of threat that none of his forebears had ever really encountered.
So, Rise of the Black Panther tells this story from the beginning, as far as you can kind of see it. It details his relationship with his father, T'Chaka, and it kind of details some early, competitions and many times enmities with people like Ulysses Klaue, folks hinting at Eric Killmonger, and then of course Namor. Could you kind of walk us through who the Rogues Gallery of Black Panther is, and how his relationship with his father and his kingdom kind of revolves around that?
Yeah, so like you said, the T'Challa's Rogues Gallery is very much intertwined. His most prominent enemy is Ulysses Klaue, who's otherwise called Klaue, the Master of Sound. And he was someone who showed up to Wakanda's border, basically demanding to mine vibranium. He was going to take it by force if they didn't cooperate. He killed T'Challa's dad, and then got beaten. A young T'Challa was able to use Klaue's technology against him and send him running away. And then intertwined with that same kind of event was the death of Eric Killmonger's parents and family, and that made Killmonger an enemy of T'Challa. The story I'm telling in Rise of the Black Panther reinvent a little bit some of Killmonger's previous appearances. It streamlines it a little bit. Yeah, Killmonger's only just starting to show up in the issues that are out now, but as the series goes on, we're going to see Killmonger and understand why he has such a hatred of T'Challa, and how that sets him on the path to being an enemy to T'Challa. Rise of the Black Panther is a 6-issue miniseries, so we're going to see a little bit of development in each issue.
Well,
Go ahead.
all right.
I'm sorry.
No, so Mike, how would you kind of contextualize that for fans who are just coming in from the movies? Again, all that's going on in Rise of the Black Panther right now. None of that's from these movies. There's no spoilers so far. But where do we kind of see some of these characters showing up in the MCU?
It seems like, again, we have to be careful.
Yes.
No spoilers here.
None. Pretty good.
But there's a lot of essence that's similar to the movies and the movie that we've seen and the books.
Sure.
So with Claw in here, obviously, he's mining vibranium. We've met Claw in the movies.
Smuggler.
Smuggler. He has vibranium. He was in Age of Ultron at first.
Yeah.
Ultron never cut his arm off.
Yeah.
And I think that will play a role in the movies that fans will see and love. So a lot of similar things there. He obviously knows about Wakanda. He's one of the only outsiders who knows about Wakanda and what Wakanda really is. Mm-hmm. And then with Killmonger, there's still the same essence there too. Keeping the movie away.
Naturally, just tabling it a little bit.
There's a really interesting reason why there's that hatred of T'Challa and what he represents and what this country represents. And I think that's all I can say.
Yeah, sure. Let's get a little bit, a little bird's eye view of this. Lots of characters have different stories that we kind of tell about them. When we talk about Spider-Man, we're talking about responsibility and how to face that. When we talk about Captain America, it's, again, the conflict between patriotism and duty and all that. With Black Panther, you have a very interesting set of stories. Evan, what are some of the stories that have been told and are being told about this character? You have some really iconic runs like Christopher Priest's and Ta-Nehisi Coates'. What kind of stories do we tell about Black Panther?
So, whether it's Priest or Ta-Nehisi or Don McGregor, I feel like, and even going back to Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, I feel like the essence, the core conflict at the essence of T'Challa as a character is this push and pull between tradition and modernity. He's inheriting like this amazing legacy, this amazing country, and he has to preserve it, like I said before. But in order to preserve some of these traditions, he has to break some of them too. So, in the comics, he makes contact with the outside world, which is something that Wakanda Kings traditionally haven't done. And as time goes on, that continues to be the core conflict of the character. So when he's in, say, Christopher Priest run, that volume that started in 1998, he's gone back to Wakanda and been a king, and he comes back to the outside world, to the United States, because of a murder of a child who's supposed to be taken care of on the auspices of a charitable organization he set up. And coming back to that world, he meets Everett K. Ross, who's a government official, who's kind of like an intelligence operative, kind of nebbishy and nerdy. And we learn from Ross's his narration of the story, that there's a set of preconceived notions about who T'Challa is and what Wakanda is that are totally wrong. So it's about what he shows you, versus what he's really holding back. So he's a kind of a trickster, a strategist figure in that way. And again, there are people inside Wakanda, we see this in the Priest run, who are not like down with T'Challa's rule and engaging with the outside world at all. In Ta-Nehisi's run, it's more of an internal story about internal conflicts about inside Wakanda versus T'Challa's rule. But again, it's the same basic conceit, which is like, hey, you all this dealing with the outside world you've been doing has brought havoc and ruin to Wakanda. So now we want to kind of off.
That also kind of has some bearing on the film. Now, again, without going too much into details, Michael, these kind of internal struggles that T'Challa's dealing with, as well as these external kind of relationships, how does that kind of factor in on this story?
Well, we were talking about this earlier,
Sure.
which is I love that Evan brought this up. T'Challa and Black Panther and Wakanda are, and this movie in general, are something we've never seen before, and it's not crazy. Their priority is their people and keeping their people safe and making sure the outside world doesn't exploit them for what they have and whatnot. And I think we're just kind of trained and used to seeing Spider-Man and Captain America and whatever just go fighting the bad guys that they don't really know and have any connection to. I mean, sometimes they're nemesis, they do. But I think it's almost like just like anything else. Like we just grew up like believing in that. But if you think about it, it's kind of weird that Spider-Man just swings around the buildings of New York City, just saving people and whatnot. It's great. But his family and his country are T'Challa's like priority, and so some people may see it as selfish, but at the same time, he's just seeing it taking care of his people.
Yeah, to take your metaphor a little further, like not every Spider-Man battle happens in his apartment. And it seems like with T'Challa and Wakanda in particular, so much of it is close to home. And one character from your run, Evan, that we really wanted to talk a little bit about is how T'Challa's relationship with Namor. Again, one of the older characters in the Marvel Universe. These guys have been around the block for a while. And how kind of Namor's a really interesting foil for a character like T'Challa.
Yeah, so that was such a fun issue to write because they work off each other in such interesting and energetic ways.
They're both kings. They're both from remote kingdoms. They both have people to protect, and they're both superpowered.
They handle it differently.
But Namor is brash and impulsive. Talks a lot of trash. Doesn't necessarily think before he acts. Where T'Challa is almost a polar opposite. He's more reserved. He can be like loquacious, but he's not, talking a whole lot of trash. He's definitely much more of a planner than Namor is. His modus operandi, his preferred one, anyways, to be stealthy and secretive. So they were really, really fun to bounce off each other.
Yeah.
They meet and in issue 2 they meet. And Namor's kind of in a bad way, and T'Challa starts by offering help. and Namor says, the Prince of Atlantis needs no help from a surface dweller. I don't remember the exact line, but it was something like that.
I think that was it.
That interaction lets you know that these two guys are about to get into something.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating character relationship, mainly because again they're so similar on paper, but in practicalities and how they view their world, it couldn't be more different. And these guys will show up in every run. If people have spent any time in the Marvel Universe, whether it's through Jonathan Hickman's writings or any of the Avengers writings, these two are two fascinating characters that really kind of bounce off each other.
It's a great. I don't want to say a great lesson for kids, but it's a great thing to see that obviously people that have the same positive goal in mind.
Yeah.
But handle it very different ways. And, there's always a saying, what, you get more bees with honey than whatever. I mean, I don't know. That's my 2 cents.
But on that same like, again, Black Panther as a character is finally having his moment in the sun. He's got he's a role model. He's been an icon in the Marvel Universe for a while. He's been written on by some of the greats. You were mentioning earlier, Evan, that like this is a character always kind of grappling with history and modernity. How do you write this character while kind of acknowledging the history of this character and still moving the puck forward?
Yeah, one of the things, there was a conversation that it was a group chat that I had with Ta-Nehisi and Yona Harvey, who was writing.
That is a wonderful name drop, sir.
Yeah. I mean, Ta-Nehisi and I are friends, so we talk about this stuff. And this is going to sound self-aggrandizing, and I don't mean it that way.
No, it's all good.
But Ta-Nehisi said that, like, Evan's one of the biggest Black Panther nerds around. And, I thought about that. I certainly know a lot, but there's definitely people. There's always somebody who knows more, right?
Yeah.
But the thing I pride myself on doing, like, and I've done as a comic book critic, has been how do I use what I know, right? It's not just enough to like to rattle off, issue numbers and feats like chapter and verse. Like you've got to use it to construct a kind of understanding of the character. So what I've been doing, it feels like I've been getting ready to write this character in a way. So to answer your question about using the history, so I have people from the Don McGregor run showing up. I have a character from Kirby showing up. I'm referencing stories that Reginald Hudlin did, and stories that Priest did. I very much want this to be a quilt, stitched together with materials that have been handed down to me, in part, but also where my own creativity comes in is in figuring out the design of the quilt, adding new elements, things that people didn't expect. So, in issue 1, we knew that Captain America and a previous Black Panther. In this story, it's Azuri, T'Challa's grandfather. We knew that Captain America and a Black Panther had tussled during the 1940s, right? And we also know that during that interaction, some vibranium left Wakanda. So I quickly retold that story, but then I showed the repercussions of what that means in Wakanda years later. And it's like basically, it's a traditionalist member of the tribal council saying, "Yeah, your dad never should have gave that white boy the vibranium."
There are consequences to the actions of kings in this, and I guess one thing that we're super interested in is, like, again, especially as this character hits cinemas, and especially as this character is arguably going to be in front of more people than he ever has before. What's it like to kind of write a character that is just on a rocket ship at the moment, and are you holding on? Like, what's it like, kind of writing this at the zenith of its popularity potentially?
It's wild. I'm in California now for a comic book convention. Last night I did a signing at a screening in Austin where I live, and people were just coming up to me, like saying thank you, and they love my work, and they're so excited for this character, and it feels like I have so little to do with this current moment, which, I don't want to sound like I'm being self-effacing. I'm writing one comic book that, yes, is very important for new readers if they want to encounter the characters some more. But it feels like this is so much bigger than me, and it feels like it always has been bigger than me. So to participate a little bit in it feels like deeply humbling. And he's, such a great character. Like I was talking to a friend of mine from college yesterday when I was driving to the movie theater, and he's like, "Yo, I remember when we were like either freshmen or sophomores, you went on like a 45-minute rant about Black Panther and Wakanda." And then like,
that's incredible.
And I'm like, yes, right?
So it's living the dream.
Yeah, it very much is living the dream. But if I was just writing a comic book, that would be living the dream, achievement unlocked. But to be doing it now, in this moment, feels like I've got like the platinum trophy, to make a PlayStation 4 video game reference. But yeah, that's what it feels like.
Well, Mike, we were talking earlier about just how, like, again, this is like just the beginning of Black Panther in so many ways. Just the way that the contracts work in the MCU, you were saying that really they're queuing up for something big.
Oh, I mean, he's going to be a 2-3 picture run. I mean, it's not. He was in studio last week, and someone asked him, said, okay, I'm sure you're cashed in for 3 or 4 movies, and not spoiling the ending of the movie.
Sure.
But he's got a bright future there, and I think we've seen. Kevin Feige has said that we're heading into Phase 4, I think it is. Mm-hmm. We have, in 2 months, which is just crazy, Infinity War is coming, and we can expect to maybe lose some people there. But then Infinity War 2, when that comes out in, I think, 2019, we're going to lose a lot of people. It's just there's no qualms about it.
By which you mean characters who are...
Characters in the MCU. Even with contracts, people have been doing the character for so long. They're artists. People want to do other things. And I think you have a handful of new stars and talent that we're seeing, and I think Chadwick Boseman is definitely at the top of that list. You have Tom Holland, who's going to be the new Spider-Man. You have Brie Larson. Yeah. We haven't seen Captain Marvel. And I think the future looks really bright for the MCU, and this is just the beginning of that.
Well, all right. So, again, Evan, going back to you. So the book is designed for people who are brand new to this character. It's called The Rise of the Black Panther. Issues 1 and 2 are in stores already?
That's right, yeah.
All right, and so number 3 is coming out early March. Where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Evan Narc, EVNARC.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Evan Narcisse. This has been such a pleasure. And again, congratulations on living the dream.
I would say one thing
thank you so much, guys.
about the
Thanks
book
for having me.
and Evan's contribution to this. I think he said living the dream. I think it's all of it together at this moment's amazing. And I don't want to say like I'm talking to Marvel right here, but we always talk about characters and like catching people up. They should do this every single movie. Like do like a really good arc run, because Evan's book is amazing. And series is amazing, kind of catching people up on the history of these characters as they come out. So, I mean, cough, cough, when Captain Marvel comes out, maybe we'll do the same thing.
All right, you hear that, Marvel? Mike is here, and he wants to talk to you about writing the entire Infinity War comic book.
Thank you very much.
Evan Narcisse, Mike Rothman from ABC News. I've been Walt Hickey from 538. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Inside Marvel.